We're continuing the discussion from Prahlad Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Very exciting. Next week, we start to have some guests here at Radhakala Shanjidam. Mahaprabhu will be here. From what I understand, he'll be giving some morning classes. And Mukunda Datta Prabhu will also be here giving some classes. Something for us all to be excited about. Today we're going to read from Canto 7, Chapter 7, texts 39 through 47, and we're focusing on verse 42. Let me recheck. Yeah, we did 29 to 38. I mean, that was what was on here, but we went to 32? 38, okay, so then we'll go to 39 to 47 and focus on 42. Hare Krishna, okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Go Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Go Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Munati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabiyari Radha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kalashanji Radha Kalashanji Shri Radhe Radha. Jaya Radha Shamasundar Radha Shamasundar Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can sing the invocation verses together, both Sanskrit and English, please. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Excuse me. Let's go English. I apologize. That was my fault. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and to under Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta preya shabreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasoke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance on the Srimad Bhagavatam and renewing service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Yantimarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we said 39. Let's just jump right into it. We've been going, we're on a roll Prahlad Maharaj is on a roll. Let's go. We have our mic?
Yes.
Please start, Prabhu Nari.
Text 39. One's riches, beautiful wife and female friends, one's sons and daughters, one's residence, one's domestic animals like cows, elephants and horses, one's treasury, economic development and sense gratification. Indeed, even the lifetime in which one can enjoy all these material opulences are certainly temporary and flickering. Since the opportunity of human life is temporary, what benefit can these material opulences give to a sensible man who has understood himself to be eternal?
Text 40. It is learned from the Vedic literature that by performing great sacrifice, one may elevate himself to the heavenly planets. However, although life on the heavenly planets is hundreds and thousands of times more comfortable than life on earth, the heavenly planets are not pure, nirmalam, or free from the taint of material existence. The heavenly planets are also temporary, and therefore they are not the goal of life. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, has never been seen or heard to possess inebriety. Consequently, for your own benefit and self-realization, you must worship the Lord with great devotion, as described in the revealed scriptures.
A materialistic person, thinking himself very advanced in intelligence, continually acts for economic development, but again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, he is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or in the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires.
In this material world, every materialist desire to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin.
Text 43. A living entity desires comfort for his body and makes many plans for this purpose. But actually the body is property of others. Indeed, the perishable body embraces the living entity and then leaves him aside.
Might need batteries. Since the body itself is ultimately meant to become stool or earth, what is the meaning of paraphernalia related to the body, such as wife's residence, wealth, children, relatives, servants, friends, kingdoms, treasures, animals, and ministers? They are also temporary. What more can be said about this? All this paraphernalia is very near and dear as long as the body exists, but as soon as the body is destroyed, all things related to the body are also finished. Therefore, actually one has nothing to do with them, but because of ignorance, one accepts this as valuable. Compared to the ocean of eternal happiness, they are most insignificant. What is the use of such insignificant relationships for the eternal living being? My dear friend, O son of the Suras, The living entity receives different types of bodies according to his previous fruitive activities. Thus he is seen to suffer with reference to this particular body and all conditions of life, beginning with his infusion into the womb. Please tell me, therefore, after full consideration, what is the living entity's actual interest in fruitive activities, which result in hardships and miseries?
47. The living entity who has received his present body because of his past fruitive activity may end the results of his actions in this life, but this does not mean that he is liberated from bondage of two material bodies. The living entity receives one type of body, and by performing actions with that body, he creates another. Thus, he transmigrates from one body to another through repeated birth and death because of his gross ignorance.
The four principles of advancement in spiritual life, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, all depend on the disposition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, my dear friends, follow in the footsteps of devotees. Without desire, fully depend upon the disposition of the Supreme Lord. Worship Him, the Supersoul, in devotional service.
Jai. We'll go to 42, please. This will be our verse for today that we'll focus on. It's all good. No worries. Okay. Sukha dukkha moksaya. Sukha dukkha mokshaya. Sankalpaiha karminaha. Sankalpaiha karminaha. Sadyapinoti haya dukyam. Sadyapinoti haya dukyam. Anihaya he sukha vritya. Anihaya sukha avritya. Sukha dukkha mokshaya. Sankalpaya karmaniha. Sadapinoti haya dukyam. Anihayaya sukhavrita. Bolo, please. Dukkaya dukkha moksaya. Sankalpahi karmina. Sajapanoti haya dukyam. Anihaya sukhavrita. Sukaya dukkaya moksaya. Sankalpaya karmaniha. Sajapanoti haya dukyam. Nuhaya sukhavritya. Sukaya dukkha moksaya. Sankalpahiya karmina. Let's go word for word, please, all together. Sukhaya, for achieving happiness by so-called higher standards of life. Dukkaya moksha, for becoming free of miseries. Sankalpa, the determination. Iha, in this world. karmaniha, of the living entity trying for economic development, sada, always, apnoti, achieves, ihaya, by activity and or ambition, dukam, only unhappiness, anihayaya, for the most desiring economic development, sukha, happiness, avritya, covered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin. Every conditioned soul is bound by the laws of material nature as described in Bhagavad Gita, Prakriteya karmanani gunai karmani sarvasyaha. Everyone has achieved a certain type of body given by material nature according to the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hirdedesha arjuna tisyati brahmanaya sarvabhutani yantra yardani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. Bhagavad Gita 18:61. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supersoul, is present in everyone's heart, and as the living entity desires, the Lord gives him facility with which to work according to his ambitions in different grades of bodies. The body is just like an instrument by which the living entity moves according to false desires for happiness and thus suffers the pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease, and different standards of life. Everyone begins his activities with some plan and ambition, but actually, from the beginning of one's plan to the end, one does not derive any happiness. On the contrary, as soon as one begins acting according to his plan, his life of distress immediately begins. Therefore, one should not be ambitious to dissipate the unhappy condition of life, for one cannot do anything about them. Ankara vimudyatam karitatam iti mananyati. Although one is acting according to false ambitions, he thinks he can improve his material conditions by his activities. The Vedas enjoin that one should not try to increase happiness or decrease distress, for this is futile. Tasyavya hito prayayateta ko vidyaha. One should work for self-realization, not for economic development, which is impossible to improve. Without endeavor, one can get the amount of happiness and distress for which is destined, and one cannot change this. Therefore, it is better to use one's time for advancement in spiritual life of Krishna consciousness. One should not waste his valuable life as a human being. It is better to use his life for developing Krishna consciousness without ambitions for so-called happiness. All right. What are you doing in life? What's your life about? Wow. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So both Krishna is saying that this body is an instrument. Here, Krishna says it's a what? A vehicle, or a, what do you say? Yadya, yantra, a machine, right? Krishna says this is a machine, and Srila Prabhupada expands by saying that it's an instrument, right? An instrument. So each one of us has a machine, right? And we've been given it by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada said in this purport. Now, when you have a machine, you can look at it like a vehicle. It said that the spirit soul is sitting within the machine, desiring, right? And so when you have a vehicle, you can see that there's two things we could say that are part of having a car or a vehicle, right? One is, what kind of vehicle do you have, right? You should know what kind of vehicle you have, because with that vehicle, you should be using it for the proper reason, right? For instance, if you have a dump truck and you try to race it around the racetrack, you're not going to do very well, right? Probably going to flip. You're trying to floor it all the time. But a dump truck is meant to go nice and slow and steady, and can go like, these dump trucks can go like 500,000 miles, you know? They're built for like almost 1 million miles, I think, even, you know? But if you have a race car and you're trying to use it for a dump truck, then it's also as ridiculous, right? Try putting some rocks in your trunk or thousands of pounds of trunk, you're not going to go anywhere, right? So we should have an understanding of what our vehicle is that we have. And first of all, as a category of vehicle, what kind of category do we first have? Every one of us that are at least here talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. What's that? Human form, right? Yes. The human form of life. Wow. What a nice vehicle, right? So the human form of life has this consciousness that can be has a certain amount of freedom for which it can show, right? The human life form has intelligence, and so therefore it has a certain amount of freedom that other bodies don't have. So this form can be used in different ways. It can be used, the consciousness, the decision we make, the intelligence that we have can be decide to try to use it for happiness or to deny distress, or we can use it in so many different ways, right? The second category, we can say, of the vehicle we have, what kind of vehicle is it? And the second is, what are we going to do with it? So each one of you has a car, probably. If you don't, you're lucky. My daughter just bought a car and she's so happy with it. And I was thinking, that's, it's nice. Wait until you have to change the oil. Actually, you know what? She's buying insurance, and insurance is like, for a 19-year-old with a fairly new car, is like $260. So she's got a car, and I'm like, wow, yes. And then the car payment, she's like paying over $500, and I felt so bad for her because she's so happy and stuff, and then there's this distress coming that's like, oh my gosh, I got to get another job just to pay for my car. But she uses her car to go to work, go to school, right? So what are we using our vehicle for? Where are we taking it? We're taking it to the grocery store. We're taking it to Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're taking it to classes sometime. So where are you taking your car? Okay? So Srimad Bhagavatam and Prahlad Maharaj is explaining to us that we have a vehicle, and it's a human form of life, and that's meant to be taken in a certain direction. And that direction is towards back home, back to Godhead. We're supposed to use this vehicle to be directing it towards doing those activities which are conducive to our Krishna consciousness. And when we use this vehicle in a different way, then we have distress. And so, when that distress comes, we can try to relieve it, or we can get back to going where the vehicle needs to go, right? So this is one of the issues we have with life. We're conditioned. We've had trillions of lives of different nonsense and yada yada, and I had a friend call me from high school. I don't talk to her very often. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because in school, I never really considered ourselves friends, but we were Facebook friends. And she's called me once, and she had some difficulties, and I was helping. And then last night, she calls me, and she says, I could use some spiritual counseling, which was like, after last time I talked to her, which was like an upgrade, if you could say. Because last time she was like just wanting to talk, and she was giving me, but this time she specifically like, I could use some spiritual advice, And so what happened is she got in a fight with somebody who she was involved with, but trying to separate with. And when she spoke last to this person, she said some very harsh words. And a couple days later, he committed suicide. Yeah. And so she was very distressed about this, right? She said she felt like she was part of the reason why he did this, you know? I'm forgetting why I mentioned this story. Boop, this machine. What did I say right before this story? If anybody could help me, please. Vehicles, the direction, right? Oh, thank you. So we have this is an extreme situation, right? But we all have situations like this in life where some kind of thing, life comes and just socks us right in the jaw. Gives a heart. And so as devotees, we're trying to get to the point where it's not that we don't see these distresses and we don't see these things, but we never let them take our vehicle in the wrong direction. We never let them grab our wheel and start taking us off to a direction that isn't our destination, right? You're driving down the freeway and you see some animals off to the side, you slow down and you continue on to your direction, right? So similar in life, we have these things, and she was really just, you can imagine she was distraught. So as devotees, though, because we don't want to get distracted off of our path of taking our vehicle back home, we're not really taking the vehicle, we're going back home, right? But we're using the vehicle to move in that direction, right? We want to make sure that we keep it centered. We want to keep it focused, right? So how does the devotee do this, right? This is happiness and distress of this material world are coming. Matter of fact, Srila Prabhupada says, really it's actually just an illusion that we're basically getting this happiness, that really this life is just distress. So the Prahlad Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada are explaining that we're not endeavoring for happiness. The Atma is naturally happy, right? So the happiness that we're looking for, we have to understand it in the right perspective. We have to understand that the only happiness in the world is not us endeavoring for it. It's instead making a shift to say, I'm only interested in Krishna's happiness. There's some people that get so attached to their vehicles, their cars, that if you nick it and you're in the parking lot at Walmart or whatever, oh, there's going to be a fight. You accidentally hit it with your car, you open it a little bit fast, and that person next to you is so attached to their car. They identify that car as them so much that they're willing to fight you if you touch their car. Right? So, this is a symptom of being too attached to the vehicle and understanding that it's not me, right? So similarly, our vehicles, our bodies, are having these incidences come that are nicking our body, nicking our false ego, maybe even slamming into it, and we take it as us, and we get frustrated. We get upset. We get bent out of shape, right? But the devotee, knowing that Krishna has given him every situation in life, and therefore I'm going to use it for his service, becomes tolerant. I no longer see this as my happiness, my distress, but I look at it as how can I serve Krishna best. So the focus of the devotee is so on target that things don't bother them. It's not that they don't see them. It's not that they don't acknowledge them. It doesn't mean that they don't have the knowledge of what's going on. But more important is, how do I get back? How do I get going? How do I go back home to God? So tolerance automatically is developed. When you have a good understanding that the car's not you and people make mistakes and that person opens their door and hits you, that stinks. It's okay. People make mistakes, And in an hour or two, I'm going to forget about it, right? So, we must get to the point where we're understanding that we are not this body, that we are spirit soul, and we do have this vehicle that is meant to be used, and meant to be used for Krishna's service, for his pleasure. And therefore, then we get into a place where we start to taste some real happiness. Krishna starts to reciprocate with us and gives us some happiness. However, in his same kindness is we're in the material world. So there's also kindness is to give us the distress because we're not where we belong. So as pure devotees, we can live in any situation and see it the same, no difference. But in the conditioned state that I am, maybe some of you are, is that we will have distress coming. And we can see it like this. This is Krishna's mercy. He's given me this opportunity to understand that I am a fish out of water, that this isn't my place to go, and that I need to go somewhere else. But the devotee doesn't need to wait till the end of life. I was driving my bus one day so long ago. Anyways, I remember I was listening to a Srila Prabhupada lecture. That was one benefit of working 12-hour days, is I listened to Srila Prabhupada's books and lectures for like 12 hours, And he says in this lecture, he says, you should build you have wealth, you have these resources, then you should build the nicest altar you can for Krishna. If you have the means, you should get diamonds and flowers, the nicest foods for Krishna. And I was like, kind of feeling a little depressed because I didn't have anything nice to give Krishna in that sense, And he says, however, if you don't have these things for Krishna, in your heart, you can build a throne. You can build a throne and you can decorate it to the most beautiful throne that you can imagine. You could build it with diamonds and flowers and the best fruits and the best tapestries. He says, you build this in your heart and you say, Krishna, will you so kindly sit on this throne in my heart? And he says something amazing. This is non-different than the person building a throne with diamonds and flowers and nice tapestries. When I heard that, my heart was just like, oh, wow. I can so-called in my mind do all these things, and Krishna accepts it as real. So the devotee doesn't have to wait until the end of their life. We should understand, yes, we are driving, we have obstacles, we have things that are happening, but we don't have to wait until the destination to become Krishna consciousness. We don't have to wait to the destination to become Krishna conscious in this moment. We can just build an altar in our heart. I'm in distress, Krishna. You know what? Am I being distracted? Or what I mean by distracted, like I mentioned, is am I being distracted from Krishna? Right? Is this taking me away from my service? Is this taking away from me, Krishna? Or is this doing something? So the second thing we can do is not only think about Krishna, we can say, Krishna, I'm here to please you. I will do my best right now to do whatever it takes to please you. And Krishna will accept it. Do we make mistakes? Who cares? Krishna doesn't. He will guide us on how to better fine-tune our service. That is given, right? But it's not about the mistakes. It's about the fact that we're willing to do our best to please Krishna, and he accepts that as pure. Yes. We can talk about how we're in Maya and this and that. That's a given, right? We can just accept that. I'm in Maya. Right? Oh, but Prabhu, I'm fallen. Whatever. Yes, of course, we are fallen. But what about Krishna? If we're sitting here talking about how we're in Maya, how we're fallen, well, how are we taking care of Krishna? Let's get our focus, let's get our shift, let's get our desire on what pleases Krishna most. And therefore, when at the time of death, when the biggest distraction we've ever can comprehend happens, because everything is taken away, our false ego, all our relationships, every material thing that we've ever gotten, our house, our car, our dog, our cat, our animals, our parents, or whatever is taken away, we're going to find out where our focus is. It's going to hurt really bad. The devotee, not over-endeavoring for happiness or distress, this is part of the deal, right? If I want to go back home, then I have to shed this body, right? So then there's some tolerance. Doesn't mean that there's not pain. There doesn't mean there's not distress. Doesn't mean there's not some happiness. Oh, I remember thinking about my life and how many wonderful things I've created and this and that. Some people have some happiness even at death, or so-called happiness, as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned. But the devotee is saying, hey, I'm here for Krishna. These are all, any happiness I've got is Krishna's kindness. Any distress is also Krishna's kindness, because he just wants me to do what I'm meant to do, and that's love him. I'm not meant to stay here. I'll stop there. Oh, I went 24. Oh my gosh, I apologize. Look at just about the time that you went yesterday. That's funny. My bad. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Please share. Lots of questions. Wow.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you
Yes.
for nice class. So if I'm reading this verse, it's just it's so contrary to my nature. So the verse is saying, just don't try. The moment you try for your happiness, your distress begins. And, you should therefore just strive for spiritual, to try, like you said, please Krishna. What I'm trying to understand is, when we try to please Krishna, 9 processes of devotional service, then we start feeling happiness. Some happiness is there. How do we always ensure that this happiness I'm feeling is as a result of my trying to serve Krishna, and this happiness I'm feeling is temporary because I try to please my senses?
That's at first, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we need somebody to first help us with that, right? But we're meant, through mentorship, to get to a point where we can discern that ourself, right? So we start to get the hint of what is what, right? So that in this way we can ask higher questions. So we don't want to stay. So what I'm going to do is answer this question and to a devotee who's been around the movement for quite a while. That's whereas this answer being would be different to somebody who was brand new, right? But for somebody like yourself that is been here and doing devotional service, I'm going to answer it in this way. That's just the mind playing tricks on you. Stop. Krishna is so kind. I feel happiness. Boom. Don't play that game. Is it Maya? Is Krishna? No. You've become initiated. An initiation means that I'm initiating that my life is for the Supreme Person. My guru is so kind that he's accepted me. Now I'm living a life where I am going towards the final destination, where I only see Krishna. There's nothing else. I'm trying to get to the pure devotee. Sometimes this is a little scary for us to say, I want to be a pure devotee. But that's where we're supposed to do. We're supposed to become pure devotees. Let's do our best. Yes. Anyways, our false ego will come out trying. It does anyways. Whether we're not trying, our false ego comes out. Anyways, the false ego is always coming out. So please don't let the mind play that trick on you. It's Krishna's. And by the way, also to go a little bit back of explaining that we're talking about different, as a devotee who's initiated, we're not talking about getting happy. Are you talking about getting drunk last night and being happy? No, right? So okay, there's 4 regular principles that we have that say this happiness is not it, right? So we've already agreed about that, right? So we don't have to say to, and even when somebody who's brand new that comes, like for instance, the girl I was talking to, I was telling her that it's really obvious that people come to her in hard times. And so you're meant to, this is Krishna's arrangement. People are coming to you and need help. Now let's get you the tools so that you can help these people when they come to you. And so I was telling her kind of about her nature. It was her nature. You could see, anyways, a way of talking to her, that people come to her during distress, and she's very good at it. However, she's doesn't have the tools to be able to help people truly, right? She doesn't have the tools to be able to explain that there's a God, there's Krishna, and without him, you're never going to be happy, right? So she says to me, and I told her, but the other part is the tool. You have the tools, the duty that you're supposed to do, and then you have God. So this is the formula. Your service, and you have God. And she goes, but I don't think God will be happy that I drink beer. And I was like, hey, let's not worry about that. Actually, she wrote a color Shanji. The point I made to her was, when we don't have the tools, and we don't have this formula of the tools that we need to do to perform our service so that we're giving to others and God, there's so many things we'll do for distress. And when we're in distress, to cope. Right? We'll do so many things. We'll drink beer and this and that. So I said, don't worry about that. Let's move towards these 2 things. Let's start getting the tools and the service, and let's get God in. And then so it was, her mind was saying, trying to pull her back. Hey, this person's telling you about how to become Krishna conscious. Let's don't do it. So you're having a similar situation, but on a higher platform. Because you become initiated, you follow 4 regular principles, you're having a similar thing. Oh, but yes, there might be a little this and that to help us cope with this insane world. That's Krishna's mercy, right? Beer is actually Krishna's mercy to the devotee, to the person. It's very tamasya, it's very ignorant, stuff like that. But, what can we say? Srila Prabhupada says there's a lack of knowledge, only because of a lack of understanding. And so that's what we're supposed to do, is we're supposed to give people the understanding. So Tulsi, I would say that, that's my answer, is that I think the mind's just trying to tug at you. Oh, feel guilty. This is such an interesting thing I see in so many devotees, is the guilt. There's like a inner critic, a guiltiness to our past lives are really kind of don't enjoy, don't be happy. But that's also the conditioning. What do you think?
Is this happiness coming from serving? Is this happiness coming from, whatever is there, it'll just pass anyway.
Yeah.
Keep doing.
Keep moving to the right. We don't want to get distracted by driving around the freeway and there's the what do they call them? Tourist trap. We stop at the tourist trap. We got trapped. Let's get back going on there. But that's even a little bit, who knows whether it is a tour trap or this or that. It doesn't matter. The point is that we're trying to think about Krishna, trying to go forward. Anybody else? Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Gokula Nanda Prabhu.
When he was in, thank you for a very nice class, Hare Krishna. In the verse where, in the purport where Prabhupada's talking, from the Bhagavad Gita about this, Krishna says this is a machine, and that we're driving the machine. It reminded me of, there's, in one of the Men in Black movies, there's a alien, there's a body, there's a fight, the body dies, and out of the head pops this little tiny entity that's really driving, that's really
yes.
running the machine. And so I thought of that, and that little scenario, and but then, there's a little soul in there, but there's also this little entity in my head, my mind, that is so distractive and so commands attention. Like, the vehicle be going like this, just like you said, and then the mind takes it off this way. So it's just, I know, it's follow 4 principles, chant your rounds, attend Srimad Bhagavatam class, get up early. Those are the basics, but how do you keep your mind focused? I mean, it's just when your mind is just such a life of its own.
We need association. We need people that, when we have nice association, there will be people who are not at that moment right now. There'll be people that are up. You'll find yourself around people that are really feeling it right now. You talk to them and you reveal your mind, and they say, "Hey, I hear where you're at." And anyways, they give us some encouragement to keep moving forward, that these things happen. And then what will happen, because this is life, there will be a time when the people around are also having a time, and we're up. We're on fire. And you know what we get to do? We get to say, "Hey, I understand where you're coming from. Remember 3 weeks ago when I talked to you? Man, I was having the same time, and you helped me so much. And you know what you said? You said, keep going, let's keep going, we can do it, And so then this is the thing that is the most powerful, is that we encourage people to become Krishna conscious. Because then when we do that, the momentum is moving, our vehicles are moving very fast. And so in that association, there's also people that have the right momentum, and so we help each other. Sometimes I need a little help from my friends. That's a song.
Have time? Yeah, more time. Do we have time?
Yes.
So,
by the
first
way,
of all,
sometimes we get into this situation where we run a little bit over, and some people have service to go to. That's okay. If you have to go service, nobody's going to be offended if you have to leave. And but I do know that when you leave earlier, there's a feeling of loss. So I apologize if I've gone a little bit over time, and you're feeling that loss if you have to leave. Go ahead, Prabhu.
yeah. First of all, Prabhu, thank you very much for a wonderful, wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I was thinking about Mother Tulsi Sakhi when she raised. You gave a wonderful explanation, and I appreciate that. That's one aspect. And the beauty of our teachings is that, as I always believe, there is nothing black or white. It depends on the person as per time, place, and situation. So I was thinking about it, and a few thoughts I would like to share on that. So Krishna has dedicated one whole chapter, second chapter, to Buddhi. It's called Buddhi Yoga. So why Buddhi? Because the function of intelligence, Buddhi means intelligence, and the function is discrimination and determination. So in Damodar pastime, as we all know, there are 2 fingers The one is our endeavor and the other one is the mercy. So the mercy part is left to Krishna, but the endeavor part is ours. So when it comes to our endeavors, as Mother Tulsi Sakhi rightly said, there is this introspection that is required. We have Bhagavatam class where there is a tall order given. What is expected out of us? What is the goal? And then we need to assess where I am, and I need to evaluate, and I need to, just like you gave the example of driving. So I have a destination which is a goal, and I need to see that my vehicle is marching towards that destination steadily. So that introspection is a very, very important aspect. And when there is introspection, there are do's and don'ts. So we need to introspect both do's and don'ts, So Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Lord Chaitanya himself says, Atmendriya pritivacha vancha tarabola kam. Krishnendriya pritivancha dhara premanam. So how do we introspect that? This is my understanding. This is what we have heard from Guru Sadhu Shastra. So any happiness that derives from my senses, which is not to please Krishna, it is directed to pleasing my own senses, it is inferior. And that which is directed towards pleasing the senses of Krishna is superior. So that is arising out of Krishna consciousness. That said, the most beautiful part of Krishna consciousness is that you have so many verses for every aspect. It says, Akama sarva kamava, moksha kama dharadi. Even if we have material desires, even if sometimes I tend to satisfy my own senses, as Prabhuji explained wonderfully, Nanda-braja Prabhu, still, tivrena bhakti, we have to just keep marching. So that introspection is also required. At the same time, we need to have faith on the other finger, which is the mercy aspect of the Lord. That's what I wanted to say.
Anybody else with any comments, questions, thoughts? Srimad, Prabhu, go ahead.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the question, the discussion about how do I know if my happiness is permanent? So I had some thoughts I wanted to share. Again, if we go back to Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srila Prabhupada mentions about our true nature being the soul persons. So once our consciousness moves from the body to us being the soul persons, then the more and more we focus on ourselves away from the body and towards us being the soul persons. That's what Sri Krishna also tells to Arjuna, that we were never non-existent, we were always there. It's just that I know it and you don't know that. And so moving towards that will ensure that the happiness is also permanent, because this temporary state of the happiness is because the attribution towards temporary happiness that is derived from the mundane world through this vehicle of body. And once that state is understood, yes, this is what I have been thus far, and I'm trying to get much better with the help of the teachers and the gurus in the system in order to make my understanding of Bhagavad Gita as it is much more superior, means to move away from that to a state where I'm focusing more on myself as a soul person, in accordance with Sri Krishna's teachings as it is, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So once you start living that way, once you start spending your hours and minutes that way, one can feel, yes, that this happiness is more eternal or more longer, and you go into a state where the eternal happiness, you start perceiving what is meant by eternal happiness and how all these teachings are coming together to put you in that state with a deeper understanding. So then you know for sure, yes, now I understand what it takes to be permanently happy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you all for such a wonderful discussion. This body has been given to us by Krishna. It will have happiness and distress. It's already, as Srila Prabhupada said in the purport, it's already destined how much happiness and distress we have given. The devotee understands everything connected to Krishna, and so therefore he's our source. We can introspect and understand how to improve our service or how to give Krishna more joy. And this is the devotee's perspective, is how can we give Krishna more happiness? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bol, Vanchiko Patarubhyas cha, Kripa Sindhubhya vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Antikoti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai.